Hello everyone. My name is Gecko Yudi. I know it is this topic that I'm about to talk about is different from my mainstream content, but I wanted to talk about this. Actually, in fact, when I want to talk about this, I get shut off, I get shut down most of the time. People are like, don't talk about it, you do not know anything, you're still small, you're still growing up, you'll get to know once you grow up. And I am like, do I really need to wait when I grow up and learn these things? So I set out on a journey and I learned a very bad thing about this world. The word that which frames a specific word, and it is barcoded behind our backs, behind our heads, behind our brains, is maturity. Now most people out there would ask, why are you talking about maturity? We all are mature. Everyone who is looking at this video, everyone in their own way is mature. But what if I say that it is one of the cruelest lies that our parents, our teachers, our professors, our lecturers, our well-wishers, our enemies, or our admirers, or the one we admire, have all been feeding us? It is one of the cruelest lie. That is what I've found out. And you know what is the best thing about it? They sell us this comforting little fairy tale from the times where we can barely hold a pencil, whispering that growing up means becoming calm. They tell us that maturity is quite safe harbor where we are all supposed to sail into, where the chaotic storms of adolescence finally subside, where the trade of our burning inconvenient questions for settled respectable answers, and where we learn to wear our exhaustion like a shiny badge of honor called wisdom. This is one of the most stupidest things we are taught or we have learned from our parents, from our elders, from a very small age. But if you actually sit with it, you can feel that you have peeled back layers of what, let's say, layers of what we are forced to swallow. You realize that maturity, at least the kind of world or the word maturity or the energy that holds it, and the kind of energy that the world demands from us, is quite literally the cruelest lie ever sold to the young, to us, to upcoming babies, to upcoming adults, to upcoming teenagers. They say that maturity is good. But what if I say that maturity is the cruelest lie that the elders, the victims of that word, are passing down to us? They're not passing down good things, they're passing out the bad things, they're passing down one of the worst things that we were never meant to have. It isn't an evolution at all. Matter of fact, this has never been an evolution. It's a systematic domestication. It is a slow, agonizing process by which we are expected to trade our wild, breathing, and inconvenient vitality for the sterile, predictable compliance of a cog in a machine, all the while being taught to smile and call it character. This particular brand of betrayal isn't modern. It has haunted thinkers for centuries who watched society try to crush the human spirit into a mold. The society thinks that our spirits are like metals. They put us to trauma, which I would say in this metaphor like a furnace. And they think that they can melt our metallic spirits and shape it into a mold. That is why I said that the society tries to crush the wild human spirit into a mold. Now let's consider this great, how can I say, great philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, a man who looked at the rigid, suffocating morality of his time and diagnosed it not as a virtue but as a sheer, unadulterated exhaustion. He spoke of what he called the camel, that dutiful, obedient beast of burden that kneels willingly in the desert and begs its master to load down with heavy laws, traditional expectations, and the crushing weight of what people ought to do. Nietzsche argued that our entire social structure is built to praise us for in turn, becoming as camels. We are heavily rewarded when we carry our weight without a single complaint. When we internalize the rules of our own oppressors and what we proudly call our captivity growing up. The ultimate tragedy is that we end up wearing our chronic burnout like a crown, genuinely believing that heavier our burden is, the more mature we become. And if you look in the East, there are ancient Taoist philosophers who looked at this idea, this exact phenomenon, with a different kind of heartbreak entirely. Lao Tzu wrote extensively about the uncarved block, that pure, raw, unshaped potential, that wild, childlike wonder which is utterly open to the infinite messy possibilities of the universe. To Lao Tzu, the kind of maturity that society demands is nothing more than the relentless carving away of the block until nothing is left except a sharp utilitarian tool designed exclusively to serve the state or the market. Every single time we force a young searching mind into a pre-fit cast mold, we chip away a piece of its fundamental humanity. The philosopher called this regression, cleverly disguised as progress, where we are taught to be useful rather than whole, efficient rather than alive, and quite rather than true to ourselves. Nowhere on this planet is that philosophical betrayal felt more sharply or more cruelly than in the absolute crucible of the Indian academic journey, or any part of this world, or any academic part of this world. If you want to see the lie of maturity weaponized to absolute perfection, you just need to look at the Indian student's life starting around the age of 14. We are conditioned into a state of premature accelerated aging before our time. We are handed thick, intimidating textbooks before we even understand the weight of our own choices, constantly told by our entire human worth, which is reduced to single percentile score in a brutal national entrance exam. The pure electric joy of genuine inquiry is systematically beaten and tested out of us, ruthlessly replaced by a rote memorization, endless mock tests, and a low humming chronic anxiety that never quite leaves our bones. We are conditioned to believe that sacrificing our sleep, sacrificing our friendships, sacrificing our mental health is just an unavoidable rite of passage into adulthood. So that by when we reach our late teens, we aren't even actually mature at all, we are simply deeply and profoundly traumatized into obedience. And that quiet trauma finds its ultimate concentration camp in an average Indian engineering or medical colleges. If you walk through the sprawling, echoing, and concrete corridors of a typical Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3 engineering or medical campus in India, you can practically smell the distinct melancholic aroma of youthful dreams dying under buzzing fluorescent lights. You see that thousands, I mean millions of brilliant, sharp, young minds, people who might have been radical poets, visionary historians, fearless artists, or rogue scientists, spending their nights cramming outdated coding syntaxes just to secure a mass recruiter placement or placement package that treats them completely replaceable inventory. It treats them like a completely replaceable inventory. We watch our closest peers slowly turn into hollowed out automata, trading their natural curiosity for a corporate ID card and a predictable EMI schedule. The system proudly calls this becoming employable, but the honest, unvarnished word for it is profound desensitization, where we learn to suppress every creative impulse and every ounce of authentic grief, labeling our inner numbness as professional maturity. This entire conditioning just does not happen in a flick or change of events. It does not even happen in the sterile vacuum of a classroom. It is carefully, lovingly nurtured right at the Indian family dinner table. Our families operate on a complex, deeply ingrained generational economy of immense sacrifice and heavy unspoken emotional debt. Parents pour their life savings, their unfulfilled dreams, and their quiet generational anxieties into the children, creating a beautiful yet inescapable cage of obligation. When your father gently reminds you of the quiet sacrifices he made to pay your tuition, or when your mother sighs about the societal pressure their shoulder entirely holds, they entirely shoulder it all on you. It builds a quiet, suffocating guilt that metastasis. How can I say the word? Metastasizes inside your chest. You learn to swallow your own voice. You learn to swallow your own erratic passions. You learn to swallow your own authentic identity, not necessarily out of pure love, but out of a paralyzing existential fear of breaking their hearts. What makes this uniquely brutal is that this dynamic cuts entirely equally across genders. Even though the chains themselves are forged in completely different fires, for young Indian men, maturity is framed almost exclusively as grim stoicism and financial martyrdom. You are handed the invisible, heavy mantle of the family provider long before your voice has even finished breaking. You are explicitly told that showing vulnerability is a fatal weakness, that your human worth is strictly tied to your net worth, and that carrying silent, crushing stress is simply what it means to be a man. Meanwhile, For a young Indian woman, maturity is coded as self-erasure and radical accommodation. You are expected to balance uh, academic or professional excellence with clinical perfection, while simultaneously carrying the invisible backbreaking emotional labor of the household, navigating endless unspoken moral codes, and learning to shrink your physical and emotional footprint so that everyone else around you can feel comfortable. Both genders are systematically robbed of their youth, forced to put on heavy and ill fitting armor of adulthood long before they have even figured out who they are. So, what actually happens when you finally wake up to this grand illusion? When the corporate job is safely secured, the shiny engineering degree is framed on the wall, and the family is glowing with pride, but the person sitting inside that achievement feels utterly, terrifyingly hollow. It means we have bought wholesale into a cultural lie that promised us lasting peace and delivered only spiritual paralysis. True maturity, if it is worth anything at all, is not the quiet death of our wildness or our wilderness, but its fierce, uncompromising reclamation. It is terrifying yet deeply liberating realization that we do not have to keep carrying the heavy, borrowed expectations of an exhausted society. It is the raw courage to learn or unlearn the compliance we were once praised for, to look directly at the broken promises of our academic and familial conditioning, and to decide once and for all that we would be rather messy, searching fully alive human beings than neatly and being quietly dead inside. This was my thought on the topic maturity is the cruelest lie. I hope you liked this video. There are some mistakes because first of all my spoken English isn't that fluent, and I am writing my notes. I have written this entire script down just by thinking, just by using Google. I wanted to talk about, I'm trying to improve my commentary skills because I do not want to sound like a jackass. So, if you like this video, if you found this video entertaining, if you found this video educational, if you found this video philosophical, please like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, put it on all. After subscribing, put your notification to all the videos so that most of my videos can be straight sent to your subscription slide on YouTube. And I always say this: real maturity comes from what we have to decide. It comes from the fact that whether you want to be better or you want to be better for someone else. If you want to be better, follow it. Follow whatever you want to do. But if you want to be better for someone else, you're dead internally from the day you have taken this decision. Be better for yourself. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.